got what you need. The other thing I thought we could do while we wait for Eric is just to kind of download on last night. If there are any thoughts, synthesis, insights, ideas that came from this very diverse group of people who presented. I was really stunned by, just the way the evening worked in terms of people mingling with our folks, meeting with the community people, and how much deep interest I'm sure you all recognized in terms of people who were from the outside coming into our group. But I just was wondering, Tammy's work with STEM, and how does that relate, and does it relate, and maybe it does relate, and Craig's story, which was to me so moving, but perhaps not atypical. Maybe there could be more stories like Craig, not necessarily in academia, but in some other area that all of you are working in. So if anybody has any comments, this might be a good time to think through those together. Paul? Yes, right.
I was particularly inspired by Tammy's talk about STEM and how we were talking yesterday about expanding the umbrella of sustainability beyond what would be considered environmentalism traditionally, and to include people and technology in ways that we might not have thought of. And the folks from Utah were talking yesterday about the way they're using electronic means to do medical examinations and getting inmates and people who are incarcerated in touch with medical professionals via electronic means, and also doing electronic visiting. And wondering, gee, I wonder if we could get graduate students to calculate the carbon reductions from not having to drive all around and drive people back and forth and that sort of thing. So it really got my wheels turning inside my creative connections functions about what else is there that's science, technology, engineering, mathematics that could be a bridge between people who are incarcerated and people who are doing STEM work in ways that uplifts and inspires.
Great point. Craig or Steve, would you mind just describing what you guys have? I know I just realized you've been doing this for a long time, but that's an aspect of sustainability and interactions between corrections and medicine, for example, that we hadn't really thought about, or I hadn't been aware of. See, they're fighting over who's going to talk here. Steve, that would be great. Thanks.
Sorry we missed last night. We had other obligations we had to be to, but for several years now, we have in our infirmary at our main prison in Draper, just about 22 miles down the freeway here, we have connection with the University of Utah Medical Center, which is right around the corner, and we have about 11 clinics. So we have OBGYN, ear, nose, and throat, skin, heart, orthopedics, and the inmates go to the infirmary. They're connected online with the doctor here, and the doctor basically does a triage. And so it saves several transports, and the time we transport them is when we do surgery, if that needs to be. So we either save a lot of transports, don't do any at all, or the final transport would be the only one that we do. We also have a mobile MRI and CAT scan machine at our at the Draper site. So doctors come out there to do the MRI and the CAT scan, which is safety and security, because when you do an MRI, you have to unrestrain the inmate totally because of the metal. And so it really is wonderful.
That's great. Thanks so much. So there's a brilliant idea that I don't know if any other states that folks are aware of carrying that out? So you do that, Tammy, in Oregon. Okay, great. Exactly. And as Paul said, it's important that we not just do these, but actually calculate what the savings is and communicate that. So it's not just the doing, it's the being mindful of it and letting other people know. Steve?
No, and just one more thing. We also have installed 6 dialysis chairs at the prison. So the inmates are on dialysis, which that up and down, obviously, but we just take them over to the facility that has those, and that also saves a lot of transport.
Great, great. Any other comments? Yes.
Not only does it save on the carbon footprint, but of course the staffing impact is tremendous when you have to take somebody out. Usually takes 2 officers for someone medium security and above.
Good point. That's a great point. Anything else? Okay, great. So I just want to make one other last small announcement that Channel 4, which is ABC or some news channel, is going to be coming in about 8:45 or so, and they're going to be talking with Carrie and me. So she and I may have to step out, and there might be, I don't know if they're going to be doing any filming of the group, but anyway, just wanted to let you know that they're going to be here, and so we're going to get a little bit more media coverage, which is great. But Eric is here. Is Eric ready to? I'm ready. All righty.
Good morning. In case you're wondering, I'm not technically late. I was just giving you time to process the wonderful experience we had last night. It's great, though, to give you a firsthand experience of the variability of our own sort of wild weather here. See, look at that. All right. All right, well, let's begin. It's exciting this morning. We're really going to be diving in to the meat of things today. I think. So here is what we're going to be spending our time on today. I'd like to begin by summarizing our work to this point. And I'm going to ask Corey and maybe Emily and Antonia if we can move our notes up onto the wall where folks can see them. Where will folks be able to best see them? Should we just have them up over here? Is that all right? Yeah, that's fine. We will then spend time articulating and prioritizing the values for SPP, kind of the piece that we talked about a little bit yesterday. And then we're going to talk about a powerful vision for the future of the network, which will lead us into a discussion about the types of governance or structure that the network will need in order to support that vision. We will, Jocelyn, where are you this morning? Right there. Jocelyn will spend some time going over the website with the whole group. Okay. Great. Okay. Well, so this is really an opportunity. There was a great dynamic conversation going on in the room across the hall yesterday about the website. So maybe you could just further articulate that to the group and answer any questions that folks have.
I also want to do just a very basic tour of the site so
Wonderful.
that since we don't have an orientation video,
Yeah.
just to get people knowing how to move around how it is right now.
Yeah, so this will really be Jocelyn's invitation to all of you to explore the site if you haven't already. And then we will move into creating a tangible action plan, which is really sort of our next steps plan, which will include things like identifying work groups, talking about the advisory committee and their role. And then Chuck is going to spend some time, where's Chuck this morning? Good morning, Chuck. With some workshop evaluation issues. And then we will wrap up, and Nalini will provide us with some closing remarks. So, any questions about what we'll be covering today? Okay. Well, let's dive in. And actually, before we do that, let's bring the lights back up. And I'd like to talk with you, just sort of summarizing some of the ideas, emerging ideas, the themes, and some of the big questions that are developing around our work so far. So if I will read them from here. So some of the emerging ideas, and this is certainly not an exhaustive list, but just in paying attention and listening to what was coming out of the conversation yesterday, these were some of the big ideas. And one of them was a need to centralize tools and resources, including tools and resources around public relations, evaluation, more systematic data collection, protocols, which again in the book there are how many? 40 protocols there, so great start there. Sharing success stories, that was a big piece that was talked about particularly during our panel discussion, and then funding sources. One of the other interesting ideas is that, maybe not as interesting to you because you're all in the middle of it, but from a slightly more outside perspective, is that prisons are unique, these unique controlled environments, which create an opportunity then to experiment a little with different sustainability models, and that those models then can be replicated in other institutions. Some other emerging ideas, new correctional facilities, and this is a particularly pertinent issue for us here in Utah as they're looking at the possibility of moving our prison. When those things happen, I know, where is, I'm trying to remember which group, is it Maryland that you are, right, but where's our Maryland group? Right, so you're also in the process of sort of deconstructing, right, an older prison. Anyway, these things provide opportunities to really think about sustainability sort of from the ground up. Celebrating accomplishments. We are so in the work that this is something that I think we don't do nearly often enough, and I think it's very important. Last night was certainly an exciting celebration. We wanted to throw up here the Mommy and Me Garden, and also the Head Start for Hellbenders. And the reason that we wanted to share those is those are some particularly innovative ideas, and I think that sustainability can look like all sorts of things. We were also talking about job preparation, vocational readiness as sort of another extension of sustainability. Using partners to develop curriculum and certification. So those were some of the ideas that we had paid attention to and noticed so far. Some of the key themes of our dialogue and conversation and education of one another so far have been around the need to educate staff, inmates, partners, and the community in order to promote understanding and to create buy-in and to get us past our own ideas about one another and to move us toward action. Impacting inmate behavior through meaningful engagement. That seemed to be an important theme that a lot of folks talked about. Mutually beneficial partnerships, again, I think that comes directly out of the essential components. But again, a really important piece, the need for robust evaluation, right? Moving from small data sets to larger data sets to reliable data sets, again, so that we can begin to make a more powerful argument about the impact of this work. The need for promotion and branding and media opportunities. I met a gentleman last night, I'm not sure how many of you spoke with him, that came to the evening event because he heard a 20-minute radio piece on our local KRCL station. Okay? So what other media opportunities might be out there that could really help to connect us to partners, to, again, enhance collaboration and potentially lead us to some funding? Some other themes here, the need to demonstrate, to be able to demonstrate the benefits of SPP and this work, both in terms of the human benefits, the financial benefits, the environmental benefits, and I'm sure that list could go on and on. Safety, obviously, is a core idea around all of this. Buy-in from staff at all levels, and that is not only corrections staff. Those of us that come from the nonprofit sector also need to have buy-in and move past our own preconceptions in order to really fully engage in this work. We talked about, and there was a lot of energy regarding inmate reentry, both societally and into the workforce. Of course, we've been talking about the importance and the range of partnerships in this work. I think it was Todd. Where is Todd this morning? Sorry, not Todd. This gentleman. Steve. Sorry, Todd. Come on. One of you called him Todd. I'm sure that's where that came from. This idea that small changes add up, I think, is a really, really important idea. So just something for us to continue to think about, which really leads us into the next theme, which is about a phased or a scaled approach. And how can we identify and expand on existing programs and resources in order to leverage these sustainability projects. Okay? Some of the big questions, and there will be many more today, and we will spend time clarifying what kind of structure would best support whatever this vision for the network is going to be, which is what we're going to be talking about. Strategies for funding and resource development, and if you've been out and looked through some of the comments and feedback in the idea gallery, you'll see that there are a lot of questions around that issue and possible collaboration around funding and resource development, and just sort of thinking around some strategies for that. And what is the aspirational vision for the network? What could it be? What are the possibilities? Okay? Are there things on there, are there things missing from there in terms of emerging ideas or key themes at this point? Okay, well, let's start with those. Those will be sort of a starting place for us, okay? Nalini, please. Yes.
I'm really excited to see these. I think there are more that we can put on there
Of
by the time
course.
we finish and when we all go home. But what I see as someone who will be probably involved with moving this to writing a proposal at a larger scale, is that each of these themes really can lead to ideas about, well, if we have this theme of impact inmate behavior through meaningful engagement, the question is, how do we do that?
Sure.
What does it take to do that? And what do we need to ask for to do that? But the fact that these boiled out of the collective awareness and experience of this group, I think, gives it tremendous power. It's not just saying, gee, maybe we should do A or B or C. It's that collectively we know that this is a theme that we want to emphasize. So now what will it take to implement that in the future? So super useful stuff, I think, here.
Great. So, and just so you know, this obviously is in no way an exhaustive list. In fact, this is a very distilled list from pages and pages and pages of notes. Please.
I'm interested in a sustainability and science spectrum palette. I noticed in the protocol book there's a wonderful section in chapter 6 about sustainable operations that gives examples of some of the things that are being done, but it is certainly by nobody's contention intended to be an exhaustive list. And I think it would be useful to begin an exhaustive list. To have an inventory of what is being done under the banner of sustainability and science nationally. That's one of the things we tried to do with the guidebook for NIJ, was to give as comprehensive a list as we could of what is the palette that artists have to work with if they're looking at painting the prison of the future with regard to sustainability and science.
Help me articulate that in the most succinct way that we can so that it is easily shareable.
They joked that the purpose of the Rocky Mountain Institute was to translate me into English. I would say, what are examples of science and sustainability in corrections? And then in parenthesis, nearly exhaustive list. I don't think we'll ever have an exhaustive list, but if we could just have a long list of things that people could pick from. Inventory, great word, thank you. Yeah, inventory of practices, or I don't like the phrase best practices. It's sort of leading practices or exemplary practices. Powerful, empowering practices. I'm from California, you can tell.
So when you say sustainability and science, what do you mean? Are we going to just toss this back and forth to have a discussion?
Yeah, that's a wonderful college course there. So by sustainability, the United Nations has defined it as meeting the needs of the present generation without negatively impacting the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Now that's a really long definition. We assigned to our graduate students in the Introduction to Sustainable Management course the task of defining sustainability, because there is no definition yet. So we know what sustainability is not. And you hear people in Congress usually talking about money. They say, well, that's just not sustainable. And you hear that a lot. But we don't hear a lot of, here's what sustainability is. So that's actually what I'm asking for here, is that as the network, what we could do is offer a list of examples of what is sustainable. Two other words that I like to use are vitality, what is vital, and resilience. What is resilient? Do we make our institutions more resilient by this practice? Best I can do on short notice.
Yes, syllabus to follow. Please, are there other kind of key ideas?
So I guess I would suggest that one way to explore that is the collaboration with scientists. So we struggle with the term all the time, yet we are called upon all the time to inform sustainability action plans. So it seems to me, and there are already examples, and we're proceeding with this in Maryland, that the collaboration between the academics from both the physical, natural, or from the physical, natural, and social science side, and what's going on within the correction facilities could help us answer some of these very contemporary questions by providing data not only that's generated within the facility but also outside the facility. This offers as a way to inform policy that's basically every day.
Just joking. Can you call everybody, Todd?
I just wanted to bring up another thing that I think is implicit in all of these other themes, but I think deserves being called out, which is equity and addressing some of the underlying disparities that exist within our culture. We're talking about serving underserved populations with science and education and sustainability, but I think it deserves to be explicit rather than implicit.
Great, and that actually, so I want you to continue to think about that idea in terms of a value and to make sure that that is captured somewhere in our values discussion, okay? Great, please, other ideas?
Related to that, I think as part of the evaluation, we need to document those numbers, because that is a powerful story in this culture that's trying to get our hands around diversity. But I think that's plugging that into evaluation and looking at what populations, how different the populations are in prisons versus in the general population. And I think that's an important selling point in the future for grants.
Great, thank you, Chuck. Anyone else? Okay, let's, so we'll put this up on the wall, and let's move into our conversation then about values. Okay? Yeah, that'd be great. Tony, do you- Is one- ah,
The slides. Nalini slides.
yeah, in just a second. Great. So just for a quick review here, just to refresh your memory. Again, why talk about values? Again, organizational culture or the network culture will either passively happen based on history, myth, and assumption, or we can purposefully create the kind of network culture that we need in order to achieve our goals. And again, we want that culture to reflect the approach that the network takes in its work. It describes how we interact with the community, with our constituents, and again, defines and directs our commitment to social responsibility. This key idea, whatever we value is what we live. In the network, on our teams. You remember this schematic from yesterday? So organizational values are the foundation of an organizational team or network culture, and the culture is one of the #1 drivers of performance. Values also bring, again, a lot of clarity, and so sharing similar or agreed upon values helps to clarify, again, how we are going to behave and interact with one another. It helps to inform how we make critical decisions. It tells us what's important. And again, in the future, one of the things that we'll want to do, one of the next steps will be to describe what it is that we would see in behaviors and actions when the values have been deeply incorporated in the network or on individual teams. Okay, so bringing that past just a simple description of words so that we can have a sense and evaluate how deeply those things are operating and influencing the work. So the idea here is that we are working toward aligning our internal beliefs with our external behaviors and actions. Okay? So let's talk about the process here for a minute for how we're going to do this. I'd actually like to start, Nalini, if you don't mind. I'm just going to have you kind of come back up again and quickly just kind of give us a quick review from yesterday of those values. Yeah. And do you mind pulling, can you pull that up, Emily? Okay. And here you go.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
So if you guys have your, thanks. Do you have your handouts from, or perhaps you've recycled them? Surely you didn't just throw them away. So basically, you know, what I really want to spend time on is seeing whether or not there are values that we, the leadership team, put together. You can go ahead and put it to the next one. Have put together that that we missed. Did we miss any values? Do people have comments on any of these values as ones they particularly want to root for? What we're hoping, just to give you a sense of where this is going, is this will help build not only the document, but hopefully the conceptual thinking and the practice that will follow from that, that will guide all of us in terms of making choices, setting our own priorities, and also conveying what our values are to other people who want to know, what the heck is SPP? I don't know how many times I've been asked that. So this is something that if it's on our website or on your website, or when you're sitting on an airplane talking to somebody about what the work that you do, that you'll be able to say, you know, our values are X, Y, Z, and we'll know that this is a collective piece of work. So in the evening, yesterday, when you were in your hotel room saying, "Oh yeah, that's right, I have to look over those values," I'm wondering whether anybody came up with anything that they would like to augment. Again, the values being a piece of the cloth of this sort of statement of who we are and what we do and how we make choices.
So Nalini, can you go to the next level? Can you go to the next level of values? Yes, thank you very much. So do folks have their handouts? Okay. Chuck.
One element that is in there, but I'm not sure if it's distinctive enough, and I think part of this is the feeling that I have after these 2 days in conjunction with the September workshop, is that I think we value community in the sense of building a community among ourselves. Not necessarily the project or prisons or professionally or whatever, but I think in many ways we have begun to form a community. And I think as the organization or as the process goes forward, I think that's an important thing to remember and to practice. And as new groups are brought in, that feeling of joining the community and the like. And in today's world, that's really critical, because we just live a very different lifestyle than we did 15, 20 years ago. Our neighborhoods, we don't even know our neighbors. But in many ways, professionals, organizations or professional associations, so to speak, and I don't mean in the formal sense, become our community. And I think that's really important to do good work and to go forth.
Great. So I'm going to ask you, so Chuck, I wrote that one down here. I want to make sure that everyone has this handout in front of them. Yes? Great. So let me, I'm going to take you through a process then. To talk about this further. So again, Nalini just highlighted for us what some of those foundational values have been. And so what I'd like to do now is sort of at your tables, at these groupings, is to begin to have a conversation. We'll do this for about 10 or 15 minutes. And again, back to Nalini's core question, is there anything that we've missed? Again, looking at that expanded list of values. And what other values might we need in order to create the desired culture of the network? Okay, so those are the questions. Here's what I'd like you to do. So you're going to have a conversation for 10 or 15 minutes. I would like you to be thinking and writing down those pieces that may be missing or may be more powerfully articulated by other words. And then as a group, so here's the challenge. I'm going to ask you to distill down those missing pieces to 2 or 3 values for your group. Okay? And be prepared then to report those back to us. And then what we will do is to look for similarities and to collapse or condense the values together. And we're going to ask then for your feedback about, of those, what are the most important? If they are all equally important, they are not as useful to us in informing our decision making, in helping us to prioritize resources, in deciding of all of these great ideas that have already come up, which ones should we start to pull the trigger on? Okay? So I'm going to be asking you to think, as you start to see the collapsed list, what's most important? Make sense? Okay, so I'm going to invite you then to start those conversations. I'm going to be floating around asking questions, and so please begin. We'll bring the lights back up, and if you could choose one person to be taking notes and who is willing to help distill down your conversation to those 2 or 3 things, that would be terrific. Any questions? All right, let's begin, please.
Are the cards for this activity, or?
Pardon me?
Are the
Not yet.
Not yet.
Can we play a game of Nadia?
No, we nominate
Not yet, Todd. And everyone is Todd.
Adding and distilling.
In 15 minutes or less.
It kind of goes along with your equity piece, so maybe I'll
All right, are we all ready to go? Excellent. So what I'm going to invite you to do is to please stand up, and we're going to come over to this side of the room. Please. Yes, we're coming over to this corner of the room. And if I could have the folks stand by me that have the stickies. All right. Jocelyn, do you mind getting us started?
Where do I put them?
So here's the process that we're going to use is I'd like you, if there is a natural place to put them, to sort of group them, please do so. If not, then they can create their own space.
Okay.
Okay? And please, we're going to need the collective wisdom of the group to combine. Flexibility. Do we see a place where that would go?
It sort of felt like it went. It's kind of new, actually.
Okay, so let's give it its own space.
Wow, good for you.
Nice. Thank you, Jocelyn. Can I have a volunteer, please, representing the great state of California?
All right. The first one is innovation.
Innovation. Where do we see the innovation? Transformation? What do you think?
I think that's a new category.
A wonderful new category.
Flexibility?
New category.
All right, California.
Well, so let's ask the question, though. Transformation and flexibility, are those aspects of innovation? The idea is to collapse the list as much as we can.
Innovative transformation? Can you just tell them that there's going to be some news people in here in a minute? Is that okay?
So, yeah, we have a news crew here. Are folks comfortable proceeding?
Is that all right with everyone? So this will be on.
If not, there is a door right back there, and you.
Stand behind somebody. So this is ABC News.
This is the local Channel 4. This is the local ABC station.
Yeah, and it'll be airing today, but we'll be getting a clip of it so we can put it on the website so you can disseminate it. Yeah, so that's so this is Ann Sterling will be coming in, and this is Jason.
Hey, Jason.
So you're gonna be, okay.
Should we make Jason do the combining here? What do you think? Yeah? Okay. All right, so back to the question about what did we decide? Innovation, transformation, nice. Okay. With restoration. Community. Chuck, do you have a community one? No, okay. Partnerships, nice. All right, Chuck, I'm going to invite you to come next.
So this one reads mutual benefits in the broad case in the sense of partnerships and programs.
Win to the fifth is up there. Yes.
That should be our name. The win to the five.
safety and security. Security was left off, so that's.
There's safety. Nice.
And for someone outside of corrections, there is a difference between, for someone like myself who's outside of corrections, hearing the explanation of the differences between safety and security, I would tend to group it all under safety, but it's different. Let's see. Tangible and intangible benefits. We went from cost savings to cross-benefit analysis to tangible and intangible benefits. And
Impact? Impact. So I'm also noticing that this is the second group that has chosen to have 4. I'm not judging, I'm just saying.
making sustainability easy to understand.
I think that's communicating knowledge.
Yeah. See that?
Second window top.
Excellent. Thank you, Chuck. All right, who's next? Leah?
So with the win to the 5th, we did mutualistic symbiosis to kind of throw in the science aspect. No.
So who's going to explain that to the warden?
Andy. Our next is social and environmental justice. So maybe, I don't know if you'd put that with somewhere in here. Maybe.
What do you guys think? Stand alone? Respect?
Impact?
Impact.
Okay.
Impact.
And then it's near restoration.
And optimism. It's kind of also like an attitude.
Innovation and transformation.
Ooh.
Innovation.
Let me get a sense. Straw poll. With innovation and transformation? Yes. Stand alone. Innovation, transformation? Yeah. Thank you, Leah. All right. Several. Oh. A rule abider. All right. Brittany.
Yeah, rule follower here. Okay. We also had innovation. I'm going to go ahead and stick that by innovation. Scientific validity. Mm-hmm. Oh, integrity. Okay. Well, all right. And creating cultural change. Impact. Okay.
Nice.
There you have it. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Dan.
Dan, prison guy.
I'm going to actually have, before you start, Dan, sorry. I just wanted you to mention the adjustment that we need to make around the mission, because that's a really important distinction.
Yeah. A couple folks in our group just mentioned that the mission and vision doesn't really, it's not inclusive enough to incorporate like jails or juvenile facilities. It really is kind of prison specific, so we'll have to make that adjustment.
So for now, we've just put that sticky under questions so that we have captured it. Yeah. Please, continue.
Yeah, so the one we wrote down is evidence-based practices, and to just try and broaden the scope of that a little bit in the sense of economic, social, and environmental. So I think that's somewhere around here, right? No?
Validity, integrity?
Where's validity and integrity?
Right up here, upper left.
Is that a comment that the Deputy Secretary can't find?
Yeah, that is a comment.
So you don't want to do any work in Washington.
We have another one around humanity and dignity, just in the sense of, you know, how you do this work, you do it in a humane way, there's some dignity to it. Okay? And just because our group is so creative, we also covered innovation, but we said we wanted to find the next best practice.
Thank you. Let me just ask a quick question on this one on optimism. Should we be moving that into this grouping? Speak up. So the question was, should we be moving optimism with respect, human dignity?
More by itself over on the pain with flexibility.
Tell me why you think that, Jocelyn.
Because it's just like it's like a mode.
So remind me who, right, an attitude, like these are sort of attitudes or approaches? What do you think?
Sure, so maybe respect, optimism, flexibility kind of in a line.
Keep talking.
I was just gonna say, I think if we're talking about values here, those are different than I don't know, dispositions or thoughts or concepts. These are core beliefs of the organization of the network. So
Core values.
Mm-hmm.
Core values.
Mm-hmm. Optimism would be the way we would do that. Ouch. So optimism and flexibility would be the way we would.
So they're more
make the
strategies.
Yes.
That could be a value.
It could be a value.
It could.
Optimism in this group.
It could be.
Optimism is really an umbrella.
Approach our problems with optimism.
I mean, we're in innovation, we're being optimistic. With respect, we're being optimistic. When it comes to cost savings, we're being optimistic. Transformation, we're being optimistic.
We're being realistic.
Right?
Cost savings. Evidence-based.
Yeah. So I think it's stand alone but stand above.
So is the value that we're talking about hope? Hope is in there?
Is this Pandora's box?
So, I'm sorry? I'm going to put it here and just see how well you can all tolerate that for just a minute.
I like optimism too, though. I mean, I like the idea.
Okay. Do we have one more?
I have one from Sarah Patterson from Oregon. And it was
Is she not here?
opportunity for positive interactions between line staff and inmates.
Who has pessimism as a
Have you met correctional people?
Okay. I have one more.
Hold on one second.
Okay, I have one from Sarah Patterson in Oregon from Let Us Grow, and that was the opportunity for positive interactions and connections between line staff and inmates, which I thought was really good.
Is that collaboration, mutual benefit? Win-win-win-win. Okay. Great. All right, so we had some feedback from this side of the room.
From this meeting, I guess. What about any of this? What about any of this suggests anything other than optimism? So. That's why it's a core value, maybe. But so then why does it have to go up there?
Well,
I mean, if the goal is to simplify and make the list smaller, I just don't know. Since we seem to agree that it goes everywhere.
It could be optimism for environmental restoration. It could be optimism for human change. It could be optimism for partnership. Right?
So I guess you just supported my point, which is that it's everywhere.
if it's everywhere, then I'm going to suggest to you, Chris, that it is a core value and that we should keep it, articulate it.
In its own category.
Well, the goal is to have like 3 core values that guide the whole network. So if things come up like, oh gosh, that's everywhere, then that might be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think it's an impact of how we.
You think it's an impact rather than an approach?
I do. I do. But I don't see how an impact is a core value. So I'm kind of confused on how we
Okay.
then distill that.
All right, so here's what we're going to do now. We're going to take the groupings and we're going to try and determine which is the overarching value that encompasses these. And what we will do is put that one on top and keep the others underneath, right? So that we have a good sense of what we're talking about, for example, around either innovation, right? That's going to be of this group.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I noticed that education should go over with creating and communicating knowledge.
Okay. So let's start here. Nalini, do you mind taking the mic? have innovation. We have community and partnerships.
Shouldn't partnerships be with collaboration? Yeah, they should all go together.
Yeah.
And then community would be with a different group.
So let's talk. So let's start with, we have collaboration, mutual benefits, partnerships and programs, mutualistic symbiosis.
Yeah.
Oh.
And win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win, opportunity for connections, sustainability.
No, that's different.
Okay, that's different. And partnerships. So what's, is it collaboration?
Yeah.
Yeah, and scientific validity and integrity need to move out of that.
Yeah, I'll move those. Okay, but the overarching one is collaboration?
Good.
Win-win-win-win.
We're not going to wordsmith today because we'll get really stuck there. So these are a little bit more big picture conceptual today. All right. So we have collaboration. Now let's talk about this one. Is scientific validity, integrity?
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Yes.
Scientific
Yes.
validity is integrity.
Yeah.
But integrity is broader than that.
Right.
It's a value in law enforcement and public safety.
Great.
And science. Yeah.
So we share that.
All right. So we've got education, creating and communicating knowledge, making sustainability easy to understand.
Well, the creating includes scientific endeavors, which goes beyond just the disseminating knowledge, which is education. And so I think the creating and communicating is more inclusive.
Yeah, I like that one on top.
Great. We have safety and security.
Let's put safety and
Safety.
security on top.
Which one?
Let's go to the default.
Safety and security should be the category. Safety and security?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Let's talk about, we have restoration and rehabilitation.
Enhancing diversity.
And you almost have to go with social and environmental justice, don't you?
Yeah.
But that,
No?
But I think those.
Are we talking about sort of diversity of human beings and including underserved audiences and diversity of prairies, biodiversity? I kind of like putting them together, actually.
As long as
people understand that, yeah.
Under which one, Nalini?
That's a different group. Yeah, where's the?
Oh, so right now I've got in my hand restoration and rehabilitation.
And enhancing diversity is behind you.
So,
In this group?
no.
Sorry, someone help me out.
Is enhancing diversity, does that mean community?
Okay, we're on restoration.
I know, but you asked, what about enhancing diversity?
Well,
So,
I was just
It could be,
asking.
that's why I asked, is it about human diversity or is it about sort of environmental, ecological diversity? And do we want to smoosh those two together?
We thought the environmental one had not really been expressed well in the values.
Yeah.
So, yes, it fits, but only if it's defined so that it
Yeah,
includes
that people get it,
environmental
right.
diversity.
Yes, I think they.
So social and environmental diversity?
Oh, that would.
Yeah,
Ooh,
that's it.
that's good.
Bing!
What is that?
Social and environmental diversity, or enhancing.
So you can take enhancing diversity
I'll
and
write
add
it
it
in.
to that group.
Oh. Julie got a pen? Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Okay.
It starts to overlap with social and environmental justice too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
well, how about enhancing social and environmental
Just,
diversity?
and justice. Does that mess it up?
It's good, that's very long. Rehabilitation, so rehabilitation. Well, it's both people and landscape.
I think it's one of the strongest concepts of the SPP network is that you can link the two.
You can use the both.
So do you need to use both words, restoration and
Yes,
rehabilitation?
because
Yes.
they're used.
Yeah, they mean different things. Hold on. We're not quite there yet. But the point is to try to tie them together.
I think that's the core sort of two-edged sword of this thing, and a good two-edged sword.
Yeah.
It's, you're cutting into social change as well as environmental.
So it's providing people new metaphors for
Mhm.
imagining both a better environment and a better life.
Yeah, a connection.
So tell me, which one do you see then as the overarching in this group?
I think with
the yellow.
I like the yellow one.
The yellow or the green.
Or the social and environmental justice. I think that one could. But that one doesn't speak as much to ecologists and scientists.
Right.
Right, environmental justice tends to be about people.
It is.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be.
So restoration is more about science.
Yes.
Yeah.
So restoration.
I think just restoration and rehabilitation is good.
I think the social and environmental justice is really important because that's a well-understood phrase and it has a lot of impact. So when we talk about restoration and rehabilitation, that phrase
Yes.
should be in it.
Yes, exactly.
And also,
Well, so
and it also opens you up for all sorts of grant funding opportunities.
But does environmental justice have a bad taste for corrections people? Like too liberal or too, no?
I think it's better than the rehabilitation work.
listen,
Oh,
please.
okay.
Listen, please. We've got impact, tangible and intangible benefits, and creating cultural change.
Cost savings maybe goes with that.
Yeah.
Cost savings?
Because it's an impact.
Okay. What about opportunity to contribute?
That is separate.
Okay.
That is different.
And is impact the overarching of this group?
I mean, I think all of these things are impacts, but I don't think impact is a value. I think it's like it's a very, I have a bad connotation. It's an aggressive word. I don't like
All right, Carrie, so give us an alternative. What is the?
Cultural change.
I love compassion, honestly, and most people in the public do not equate prisons and compassion, and I think that's really what we're doing here. And I don't know what the prison people think about the word compassion.
It's in our.
It's probably in your mission.
It is.
So if it's in their mission, compassion.
Well, but let me ask you this, Carrie. Does that better fit here? Respect, human dignity, and optimism? Is that compassion?
Maybe.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that? Yeah.
I have a hard time blending cost savings in there, honestly,
Yeah.
but.
Yes, so that's why I'm asking it. Does that idea of compassion fit better here?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
That might be a good
Can we have
overarching word.
someone write us up one that says compassion, please? That'll be this pile.
Because I'm loud.
All right, so we're back to this. Impact, cost savings, tangible and intangible benefits. Let me ask you this first. Does creating cultural change fit in that?
Yeah, it's an impact.
It's one of the impacts.
They're all impacts. Yeah, that's the problem with impact. Can we take impact down and then think about how those other more values are
Yes.
all.
You're doing great.
It's important.
I think benefits would go over top of cost savings. Because intangible benefits, one of them could be cost savings.
Okay, could be cost savings, could it also be?
Yes.
Yes.
Could it also be? No?
What happened to our win-win-win-win-win?
He got rid of that.
It's under
No, it's in there. Where is it?
It's under collaboration.
Under collaboration.
But that win-win-win is really overarching also the cost savings and the impact.
I'm sorry, say that again, Jill.
Win-win-win-win-win is also, basically over cost savings and cultural change and the other impacts.
Yeah, those are the wins.
Those are some of the wins.
Oh, that's
Some of the
interesting.
wins.
What about creating benefits for stakeholders?
Speak up, please.
Creating benefits for stakeholders. Because I'm not sure we can say win-win-win-win all the time. I mean, it's definitely an overriding pattern. But if we said, is this new project that we are considering that's been proposed to us, and it may at its early stages not benefit anybody. It might be a cost loser. So, and yet it might develop into a win-win-win-win. So I think if we put something a little bit broader about.
I think that's collaboration.
I like the ecological sort of definition of partnership, where it's an ecosystem type of as in the ecosystem, there's no such thing as a loss because the loss is absorbed as somebody else's gain. I don't know, maybe that's a little too too wonky and touchy.
Here's one of the things that I want you to think about.
That's called optimism, man.
John brings up a really good point, also the win-win-win-win-win. We want to be able to use these values as a way to attract partners, resources. So although I like the idea and the concept and the language, win-win-win-win, I probably
What
not
does
gonna
it
know
mean?
what that means,
Yeah.
right? So we want to use slightly easier to share terms, okay? So is it this benefits?
Multi-pronged benefits, I don't know what the wording is.
So isn't one of the essential components
Synergistic
about
benefits?
mutually beneficial or?
Synergistic.
I'm sorry, Brittany?
One of the essential components is collaboration with mutual benefits.
Collaboration with mutual benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So you could take collaboration and add 2 words, oh, 3 words.
With doesn't count.
Yeah, you don't need collaboration.
What do you guys think?
Well, mutual benefits is a product, but we want to pose this in value terms. So what does that, what's the value that results in these mutual benefits? Fostering mutual benefits, enhancing mutual benefits, generating mutual benefits? Right.
Creating mutual.
It might be changing what's on top on collaboration, because mutual benefits is under collaboration.
Yes.
Good point.
Speak up, please, or we're not going to be able to.
Sorry, I was saying, collaboration implies mutual benefits or, lots of benefits?
I don't think so at all. I think that there's plenty of collaborations where someone's gonna get, there's a cost. I collaborate with my administrators all the time, it costs them money.
But is that collaboration, or are you doing their business?
No, they would view it as a collaboration.
They would.
But isn't this supposed to be,
I think break it down, collaboration is co-labor, it's working together. And you work together when you're both gonna get something out of it. So if you want to spell it out, collaboration with mutual benefit, why not?
Okay, so can I have someone transform this one to mutual benefit, please?
Can I just provide a little context to that one?
That'd be great.
Obviously came from the economic analyst in the room. And the intent with that comment, I guess, was to take the cost savings even further, which is a common theme I've heard from many of you guys. How do we demonstrate, to our policymakers, to our decision makers, the effects of these programs? And demonstrating cost savings is only one side of that equation, and you're not capturing the full picture. So I just wanted to provide context with where that came, and as you guys further your evaluation techniques, expanding cost savings to include things like showing the benefits, the cost effectiveness of programs, bringing the benefits back into the fold, because that's a really important piece.
So can we live with today putting mutual benefits with tangible and intangibles under collaboration?
And like you said, cost savings goes in there too.
And cost savings?
Yes. It's the benefits.
Okay.
It's the tangible and intangible.
Okay.
The culture change, and we're gonna collapse things down.
Okay.
Well, I think culture change, we had a different dialogue about that. We were
Okay.
looking at respect for cultural, the culture as it is in your values. And we're just saying, well, we need to create something beyond that or look to beyond that. So that's kind of under innovation, really.
I think one of the things we might be struggling with is that, so sustainability is often defined as a Venn diagram of the social, the economic, and the environmental, which is the human, the economic, and the environmental costs of prison. So that definition of sustainability is what is in our mission statement, but it's also coming out in different ways here, and it's exactly what Sarah just said, is that cost-benefit analysis is rooted in the economic, but that there are social costs and benefits, and there are environmental costs and benefits, and so we're really trying to expand cost-benefit analysis to encompass all of sustainability. And so I might make an argument that sustainability really is a core value. Now, because it's in the name, or it is now, it might not be once we decide on a name for everything, that if it disappears from our name, then it needs to stay a core value, because I think we're grappling with these three kind of interlinked themes across a lot of these.
Here, here.
Can I just say something really really quick. One thing I do want to caution you guys on is using the term cost-benefit analysis. That's just one form of economic analysis, and it's not always appropriate for every situation. So you'd be very careful about using the term cost-beneficial. You may find that a cost-effectiveness study is more appropriate, or even there's times when cost savings is appropriate to answer the question at hand. So I just want to throw that reminder out there to be careful with that term.
So let me ask you a question. Can we put community under collaboration? Because it's about, we read back through mutualistic symbiosis, partnerships, mutual benefits, opportunities for connection, mutual benefits. Does it go there, or does it maybe fall closer to creating cultural change?
I'm going to pause. I'm sorry. Please try and use the mics. The virtual attendees are
This
really,
mic, oh, now it's working. It was off.
They are really, really interested. So.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you.
Yep. What do you think? Is there a natural place where community goes, or does it stand alone?
I think collaborate.
I would put community on top of collaboration, actually, because community implies collaboration, but it has a more diverse definition that encompasses collaboration and a lot more.
So the only thing I'm going to say is that in terms of just the quantity of people that said collaboration versus community, so there seems to be more energy around the word collaboration. What is your thinking about that?
Majorities have been wrong before.
Absolutely. Clearly. So I'm asking the question. I'm asking the question. Please, Carrie.
Can someone look up what co-munity means? Maybe we like it better than
Yeah,
co-labor.
munis means co means with, and munis means the public realm, like the municipal bonds.
Oh,
So
municipal.
it means being with the outside world, being with the sort of public interface.
I think our intent behind the whole what we're doing here is to create community. And we do that through collaboration.
Well said.
All right, straw poll. Community?
Who's included within the community? Because how is it being defined?
Everybody.
Because you can define it in a bunch of different ways. So it's also prisoners.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're saying community is a value.
I'm asking the
Yeah.
question, community or collaboration, which would be the more overarching kind of encompassing value?
When we talk among ourselves, as we always say, we have to remind people that the offenders are our neighbors. They will be our neighbors tomorrow. They're our community.
I really think collaboration is about working together, and that kind of just puts it out there, working together, and whether it's inmates, whether it's professors, academia. Whether it's professors, academia, working, together with corrections personnel. I mean, collaboration, I think it really invokes that thought of working together. Community, I understand community and what it stands for as far as with and that type of thing, but I think collaboration leaves more opportunities open for the people viewing that value.
So
Okay, let me check in with Nalini, Carrie, and Dan. I'd like to get your perspective on this.
I honestly might put community as a separate value right now, and let's hold off, but maybe Dan and Nalini have.
I've got a question.
Hold on one sec, please. Nalini.
Well, maybe the question is, go ahead, Dan. Okay, so I think collaboration really is the heart of what we are doing, and community, and in our collaborations, we create community, we contribute to community, we add surprising community members, like inmates working with, becoming part of the scientific community, but the actual work, the actual value that I think we foster is a sense of and an ability to do collaboration.
Okay, Dan? Thumbs up from Dan. Question.
I've got a question. Can we just say community collaboration? Combine the two terms.
No, because I think that implies to my ears that we have to collaborate with the community, that I need to run out and ask permission or set up pathways. I mean, and we do that with collaboration. We work with our prison counterparts, but I'm not asking the entire say, Salt Lake City community about this.
Didn't we just define community as anybody who may be involved, though?
But by collaboration, you're implying that you are working with them. With community, you're interacting with them somehow. I see collaboration as a very specific kind of activity that's intentional, that's mindful, that takes energy, that requires feedback, that is different from a television show that gets shown into the community here. So I think collaboration is more, I think when I see the SPP, that's what I see, us collaborating, but not necessarily interacting with a whole community.
Carrie, do you want to talk about what you just did?
So when we talk about opportunities to contribute, we're always talking about contributing to the outside communities for the most part. There's also contributions inside. But what if we add this community with contributions? And so instead of just opportunity to contribute, we're making community contributions. It's just an idea.
Yes.
You don't want to, they'll freak out.
No, I don't. I absolutely don't. So what do you guys think? Does that make sense? Yes? Thumbs up? All right.
I couldn't get to the microphone fast enough. I was persuaded by what Nalini said in terms of a basic value of the network, that collaboration has a real ringtone to it that defines the work of the network more explicitly than community does. Community is so broad that it doesn't really, it doesn't empower action in the way that collaboration does.
So are you, feedback
So I'm putting community back under collaboration again.
The majority is known to be wrong at times. Okay. Yes. So I need to get some clarity about this one because it'll either stay here or we will put it under collaboration.
If we're trying to get to 3, I would select collaboration over community.
We're just trying to get a distilled list.
I would vote for keeping community separate.
Okay. All right, let's keep community separate.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So,
vote something off the island.
Jill?
So we lost the flexibility one. What happened to that one?
I think flexibility
It was
went
over here.
under, did it go under innovation?
Well, we didn't talk about it.
Talk about it though. You got fast.
Sorry.
I knew you.
Efficient. You got efficient.
It was a yellow piece of paper.
Yeah, it doesn't go under compassion.
Flexibility with patience, with compassion, human dignity,
What we meant by that
optimism,
was
respect.
Can we explain what we meant by it?
Please.
So what we meant by it was really the idea that not all of the work that we're doing is going to go along basically the same path to get there. And
Sure.
so having flexibility in approach and also having patience with the people that we're working with, that sometimes they don't buy in immediately to the different things that we're doing. And so it struck us as very different than all the others. It's certainly not compassion. I don't think it doesn't fit under compassion.
Does it fit under innovation? Let's look quickly just to remind ourselves what's here. Innovation, 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 and transformation. Does it fit there? No? Standalone? Okay. Last straw poll. Does it fit under innovation? Hands.
Flexibility might.
Should it stand alone? Okay, we're going to put it under innovation.
Yeah, that's okay. So I have another, just a statement, which is the safety and security one. I want to question whether that's really a value of this organization. It's something that's actually a given within the, the prisons and the jails. We're not going to do anything that doesn't, isn't safe and secure. Just like we get dressed in the morning. So, is that really the value of SPP, or is that the value of corrections, and we're just accommodating that like we would anything else that we have to do in order to have these programs occur?
Okay. So, Nalini, Dan, Betty,
It seems that what we do, although perhaps not originally intended by the SPP, has been to enhance security and safety in prisons because of the occupation and the sense of purpose and so forth of our projects. But also we can think of safety and security about our planet and about the ecological work that we do, that when we restore endangered species or enhance diversity along a riverbank, we're enhancing and restoring and making that riverbank and that ecosystem safer. So it's like a connection that I think that Chris was making, that there's a sort of prison interpretation of words, and there's the scientific or ecological interpretation. And I think that dance between those two meanings can actually be, as long as it's clear that that means both, I think it can actually be kind of interesting to have those words in there.
So that's good, but those two words don't communicate that to me. I mean, you know, I think of it totally as a prison issue. So the way you described it, if that could be captured, that would be great, because I agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's useful to have some subsequent definition of the broad applicability of those terms. But we found in introducing sustainability to the American Correctional Association and in the peer review of the guidebook, that specific phrase, safety and security, was a buzzword that was a door opener for people who would close the door on sustainability. And when we had safety and security in there, they went, oh, you see the heads nodding. But without safety and security, they're like, So, for what it's worth.
Oh,
So linking those things, Paul, then made them, like you said, open doors? Yes. Okay, Jocelyn, and then just a few more comments.
So what if we tried to add something to safety and security to do what Nalini's saying? Something like safety and security inside and outside the prison walls.
So we're going to give these and sort of massage some definitions for these for further consideration, okay?
Okay, so you're saying that's wordsmithing, not defining? Is that? Yeah.
Correct. We won't be defining together.
Okay.
I mean, we have some of our starting definitions in the document that Nalini reviewed yesterday. So, any last comment about this group, please?
Have we talked about compassion yet, that list? Are we done talking about that?
No. Compassion. We've got compassion.
So I like human dignity better than
Human-
compassion, and kind of relates to some of the undergraduate social work majors that I deal with. You can have compassion for someone and sort of unintentionally like rescue them or try to fix them and do it in a way that doesn't maintain their dignity. I think human dignity should be front and center for me.
What do you guys think? I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads.
And I don't know what else is in that stack. I don't know if we...
Could you add dignity and integrity together?
Well, we talk about the integrity of the organization.
But as values, right, we want them to be in, across, both in prisons and out, I'm just wondering if those would those go together, that we want to have integrity and we want to promote dignity.
I think, and
they're very different, but go ahead.
I was going to say that I think that human dignity applies not just to inmates, but also applies to the corrections officers. It applies to the whole, dare I say it, community that is involved in this endeavor. So I like what Debbie's saying.
Okay. Yeah, human dignity? Yes. Okay. It's right there.
There's an aspect of this that might have a place in here that has to do with the anthropocentric nature of correctional institutions. And part of what this network is about is bringing nature into that conversation. So I'm wondering if we can expand this dignity and respect to place humans in their proper context in nature. And, that's kind of a charged conversation, but I just wanted to bring it up. I don't have a suggestion to make about it, but I'm interested in the topic.
Well, as John was speaking, I was thinking about human and environmental dignity. But I think when you start talking about environmental dignity to scientists, you very rapidly see the same shut door that you did if you didn't say security. So I understand that term myself because I think there is a dignity to a restored, diverse.
And spotted frogs.
But and spotted frogs. But I don't think I would dare put that into our value system for fear of shut doors. Yeah.
Got it.
All right. So
multi-species
what I'm going to do is,
dignity.
do we have feedback from California? Please.
California was wondering about saying public safety instead of safety and security.
Well, then that takes out the environmental. That's correct.
Did they hear that?
I don't know. That it takes off the environmental. Do you want to say more?
I think the way to handle that, the way they handle that is in the more detailed definition of what we mean by safety and security, so that that part is clear.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of wrap this piece to a close. It seems like we have come to some really good core things. I appreciate the dynamic conversation. Now, the fun part. So I'm going to ask you to think about, of these, again, in order to be strategic and actionable, they cannot all be equally important. Okay? I know. Who said that? Brittany, was that you? Okay. Come up here, Brittany. So Brittany will demonstrate for us how this is going to go. So each person is going to get 3 votes. Okay? Now, depending on how strongly you feel about these, you can invest all 3 of your dots on one. You can mix them up. I strongly encourage you to lobby your colleagues and neighbors to invest where you think things are important. Keeping it respectful and non-physical. Okay?
Didn't we talk about removing impact completely? I thought we did, but
I think it's fine to leave the outliers.
What do you have?
I'm going to suggest that you leave the outliers. Okay?
I know. Yeah, we had a lot of outliers that we. What does that mean, leave the outliers?
Well, so these where they didn't fit somewhere else.
So you can still vote for that.
Yeah.
No one vote for impact.
You don't have to put your dots there. I'd like to leave it up, okay? Questions? Okay. That's all right. Yes, so do we need to read the categories off for California? All right, California. So our overarching values are innovation, collaboration, integrity, impact, restoration and rehabilitation, sustainability, creating and communicating knowledge, excuse me, safety and security, human dignity, creating cultural change, and community contributions. Okay? All right, so come on up. Did you get yours? Who needs dots?
I am going to
They were. Okay.
because that is a cultural issue. Or those should go. I don't know. They're
I just want to check. Okay.
Should I get 12 for Kelly?
Well, in theory, we don't let them work.
Can I move a dot? My dot. It's my dot.
you can prove it.
You can prove it and pull it off.
I guess we know where Andrew stands.
Yeah, go with your gut. It's fine. Can I?
It's what I'm fond of, doesn't get enough votes. Oh my God. All the grains.
So Tony, are you doing California?
Seemed like Holly put so many up here.
Sure it was. Gordon, I'm watching it. I'm watching it.
You are. Sorry. And, oh, you're really. Yeah, she didn't answer. I think it was but maybe. But I just feel like her vote would be really good. Right. She said the live stream was really hard. Oh, really? I just called her. And I could make
Right, 'cause how many people do we have there? 9 or 7?
But we're only have 9, but we gave them 4 people's work because Oregon is working on holiday.
Which one? That's what I was thinking too.
So they're getting 4 people's work.
Okay.
I thought that seemed fair.
Sure.
It's great to meet you. It's exactly. That's awesome.
Sounds very.
Yeah. So is it?
Oh, no.
It's mostly in Utah, California.
When is the break?
Yes, break. We're going to take a 15-minute break. So please. 15-minute break.